Welcome to my October 2024 real estate market update. Now there's a lot happening in the real estate market right now, and you will not want to miss this month's update. Mortgage rates have actually gone up since the Fed rate cut. So how exactly did that happen? And home prices are still holding strong. Now, are these trends going to continue into 2025? Well, the first expert forecasts for the 2025 market have just been released, and I'm going to be breaking down all of the details for you in this video. And make sure you stick around until the end, because after going over these national trends, I'm going to share the latest on what's happening right here in the Frisco market. So let's dive in. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team, eXp Realty here in Frisco, Texas. And as I just mentioned, there's a lot going on in the real estate market overall. And I'm going to start looking ahead into what's going on or what we can expect based on the most current data to happen in 2025. Now, again, nobody knows for sure, but the data is telling us, or giving us some sort of idea, I should say, on exactly what it is that we should expect. Now, for the purposes of this video, for the 2025 market, what we're going to be looking at first and foremost is mortgage rates. As I just mentioned, mortgage rates have been creeping back up after falling, and they started creeping up after the Federal Reserve cut mortgage rates. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to do a deep dive in this video on why that has actually happened, because I already did that in another video, and I've got a link to that directly below in the description. But we are going to be looking at what those mortgage rates projections for 2025 are, and then I'm also going to be looking at total home sales. Why is that important? Well, one could argue that the real estate market has already been in a recession. It's been in a recession for the past couple of years. So stick around. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that, and also share some of those insights into what to expect next year. And then we'll take a look at what's on everybody's mind: home prices. Are they going to keep going up? Are buyers going to get some relief? Are those prices going to come down? And if you're considering selling, what does that mean for you? Is now a good time, or should you be waiting? So let's take a look at those mortgage rates. Now, we've been hearing for quite some time that mortgage rates were going to fall, and they really haven't to the extent. You may recall earlier this year, the forecast was that rates would be down around 6% by the middle of the year, and then there was hope that they would be down into the low fives by the end of this year. And I think it's pretty obvious right now that isn't going to happen. They stayed higher for longer based upon what was going on in the overall economy. So hint, mortgage rates are more directly connected to what's going on in the overall economy than specifically what the Federal Reserve does. So make sure you go ahead and check out that video for more details on that. But as far as where mortgage rates are likely to go from here, this is the latest forecast that is available, and it's from Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, as Wells Fargo. And what it's looking at, and this came out just the end of September, so you can see here that somewhere around about 6.2% is where they expect rates to be for this fourth quarter, and we're not too far off of that. I do expect that we may start to see them trend down a little bit in the weeks ahead. And then we're looking right around the 6% mark Q1 of next year, high fives Q2 of 25, still, depending on which forecast, still above 5.5% in quarter three, and then inching down towards that 5.5% mark by the end of 2024. So about a year from now, somewhere in the mid fives is where the current forecasts are projecting those mortgage rates to be. And the reason that is important is I think we can already see when mortgage rates fell to right around 6% within the last month or so, we did see a surge in activity from mortgage application standpoint. More people started buying or applying for loans, and it makes sense, and refis absolutely shot up. I saw something recently that said refi applications were up 159%. They make sense if you think about it, because of where rates were a year ago, nearly pushing 8% in some cases. Everyone out there, including myself, has been trying to figure out what's the magic rate that's going to get the market moving again, because I think we can all agree it's been stuck. You've got a bunch of sellers that have ultra low rates. Why are they going to sell and buy another home at a rate of 7.5? They're not. So you've had this huge lock-in effect, as it's come to be known. And on the flip side of that, from the buy side, it's very, considering prices stayed high, it's unaffordable, right? It got so expensive, and that made a massive difference in people's monthly mortgage payments. So buyers put themselves on the sideline. And it's interesting because another recent study showed that if rates got back down to about 6%, over half of the buyers that put their home search plans on hold would return to the market. So that's a big number. On the flip side, sellers, because when we look at that pricing, it's all got to do with supply versus demand. And the supply, even though it's up, hasn't been up enough to have a negative impact on pricing. And again, I'm going to show you more on that, exactly what I'm talking about, a little bit later in this video. And on the sell side, it seems to be that 5.5% is the magic number. If mortgage rates get back to 5.5%, that would be low enough to free up some of those sellers, pent-up sellers, if you like, that have been pausing, not doing anything, holding their homes in the hope that they'll be able to sell and buy what they're looking for, especially the move-up buyers at some point in the future. So I'm going to turn my attention towards total home sales, and that's important because it shows demand. And again, as I just referenced, home prices are directly related to supply versus demand. And as I mentioned just a minute ago, one could argue that the real estate market has been in a bit of a recession. The rest of the economy hasn't. We all know that. But you could say that the real estate market, it's been challenging. It's been tough out there. There has definitely not been as many transactions. So as you can see, if we look at this chart here, going back to 2019, there were right around 6 million total home sales in the United States. This does include resale and new construction. That climbed to 6.4 million in 2020, 6.9 million in 2021. Then it dropped off. And look, 2023 was the lowest we had seen in a long time, decades from what I recall. And then we're on pace this year to do actually no better, finish the year no better, and actually even slightly less than where we were in 2024. So there hasn't been a lot of transaction volume going on. Now, looking at 2025, here's what the experts are forecasting right now. So you've got about 5.4 million total home sales is the average. Fannie Mae and the Mortgage Bankers Association are locked in at the 5.2 million mark, which would be about 500,000 homes compared to this year, where the National Association of Realtors is thinking that those total home sales in 2025 are going to come in around 5.7 million. And if you saw the market update I did for September, I talked a little bit about the impact the presidential election is likely to have. And I will tell you that when we go back nearly 50 years and look at presidential elections, that in the vast majority, all except one, which was actually when the market crashed, but in all except 1 year, total home sales have gone up in the year following an election. So again, if that holds true this election cycle, then we should see home sales recover in 2025. Just an insight into what's coming up next with regards to home prices. They go up too in the year following an election. And I know that's not what everyone wants to hear. Anyone that owns a home is super happy about that. Anyone that doesn't is thinking, when am I going to get a break? And again, it comes back to that supply and demand that we've been talking about. And even now, I'll be honest, it's estimated that from Morgan Stanley and Bank of America have recently put out information that indicates somewhere between 4 and 4.5 million new homes need to come to market in order to get everything back into some form of balance, bring some equilibrium back to it. And we're obviously nowhere near that, and we're not going to recover anywhere near that amount in the next couple of years. So now with that in mind, we're going to turn our attention to home prices. What does all of this mean for home prices? Now, as I already alluded to, there's nothing anywhere in the data so far that indicates that home prices are going to fall. Now, I'm going to say, don't shoot the messenger. I sometimes get some comments that are like, agents shouldn't try and predict home price forecasts. I'm going to tell you, I'm not trying to predict home price appreciation. There's a lot of factors that can influence that and come into play. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. That can all impact it. But what this is based on is what these experts are forecasting, number one. And number two, it's also looking at it from the point of view of what's the data telling us now. And as I get into the local data in just a minute, you're going to see where I'm basing some of this on. And as I've mentioned, I've been doing this a long time. So I know what trends to look for and what the different pieces of information are telling us. Could it be wrong? Yes, it could be, but it's not necessarily made up. It's not made up. It's not my opinion. It's based upon the actual data. And again, I'll share that with you in just a minute. Now, as you can see, the price appreciation forecasts, and again, these are national forecasts. They range from a low of 0.3% from Moody's all the way up to 4.4% from Goldman Sachs, with most of the forecasters here right around that 3% mark. Could it be a little higher? Could it be a little lower? Yes. But I think the biggest takeaway from this chart, if we're going to look at anything here, is that every single one of the surveyed folks here, so from Moody's, Fannie Mae, Morgan Stanley, all of them, they're all forecasting appreciation. There isn't any company out there as of right now that I have seen that are forecasting home prices to decline in 2025. Now, as I mentioned, these forecasts that they put out, they are based on overall, what the data is showing us overall. And about a year ago, when I was putting together information for my 2024 forecast, I'm looking at the exact same data. And just to give you a reference point, at that point in time, I saw home prices in Frisco being relatively flat for 2024. Based on what was going on, the way mortgage rates were, what I was seeing from the number of people that were relocating, the inbound calls I was receiving, things like that, you could actually see that things were slowing a little bit, but we had a lot of new construction in this area. We still do. And again, supply and demand is what drives everything with regards to pricing. So for us, the new construction communities and the amount of new construction that took place was the saving grace for buyers out there. They're the ones that brought supply to the market that kept our pricing at bay. To give you an idea, the number one new construction market in the entire nation last year was DFW. And there were approximately 43,000 new homes built in the DFW Metroplex in 2023. To give you an idea, there was, I think, a market in Florida was number two at 27,000. So a massive difference in the number of properties coming to market. However, a study that was recently done by the Texas A&M Real Estate Institute indicates that the DFW Metro, based on everything that's going on, needs approximately 50,000 new units a year to come online to bring the sort of balance back into this market that many of us are seeking. But again, I'm going to show you what's going on with Frisco home prices briefly here, and then move into what those trends are telling us going forward. So what we're looking at right here, move myself out of the way just a little bit. So I'm looking at all construction types, and this is looking at the median sales price over the last 12 months. So we started back in January, and our median sales price was right around 700,000. And then you can see it dropped off, it came up, and then for most of the year, there's always going to be drop-offs and pickups. That's just natural. And as we sit here in September, we have a median closed sales price of $672,450. We're actually currently down 3.5% year over year. You can see from August to September, we went up. I do expect, and I still expect, that somewhere right around break even, so flat, is where prices are going to end this year overall. So that up and down from month to month is common, and it varies based upon the mix of homes that's on the market. You may have more higher end homes sell one month than the next month, which is what changes that median number, what the volatility is that you're looking at. But one of the things I want to show you here is the percentage of original list price. And this is really important when we get into forecasting pricing going forward, or giving you an idea where pricing is going to go. So this is going back over the last year. If I go back a little bit further, so let me go back to 3 years, for instance, you can see here that back in 2021, homes were selling for right at about 100% of list price. Looking at both screens here. And then it got crazy. This is when the market went absolutely bananas in 2022, to the point where 110% roughly on average is what homes were selling for. We got back to 100%, and this is where homes are selling in relation to original list price. You can see here, original list price. We got back to 100 at the peak of our spring market in April, and now we're down to about 95.6%, which tells you that homes are only selling for about a 3.5% discount. That is 100% normal. In the fourth quarter of the year and the beginning of the year, it's when homes are, I'm not going to say the most affordable, it's when the absolute best deals in the Frisco market are available. We see it every single year, so it's completely normal that homes are selling at a little bit of a discount. There's not as much activity this time of the year. But when you look at this trend line, it gives you an idea on what type of discounts homes are likely to sell for based upon historical trends. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Now on this, the last thing I want to show you is, as I mentioned, supply and demand plays a huge role in this. So if we look at the total number of homes for sale in Frisco, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to go back 10 years. This is us right now. So 708 homes we've already turned down for the year. So inventory is starting to fall. Again, it does every single fourth quarter, but 708, that's 56.6% higher than a year ago. And we've been hearing a lot on the news. Number of homes for sale is up. It's great news for buyers. Inventory is up. Perspective, it's super important. Yes, it's up year over year. But look, we've been dealing with record lows. Look at where we were back in June of 2019, 1,261 homes. In June of 2018, 1,307. In August of 2017, 1,159. The low point in 2017, 725. The low point in 2017 was still more than we have right now, and we're at the highest we've been at any time this year. So again, perspective is needed here, right? So just because you're hearing reports that home sales are or inventory, I should say, is going up, it's important to keep some perspective compared to how it has been historically, what we normally see in our local market. So although many areas are back to where they were right before the pandemic, we're still lower. And that is even with all of the new construction that has gone on here in Frisco. So if we talk specifically about pricing in the Frisco market, this is why you haven't seen big declines in pricing, right? The supply just hasn't been there relative to the demand that we have currently, right? So now, looking forward for Frisco, where does it look like it's going? Well, now I've turned over to my weekly market report. Again, this is for Frisco. If you're not interested in Frisco, you can actually just look at the top of this report. You can put in any city or zip code you want right here, and you're going to get all of the relevant information for that city or zip code. But this real-time market profile that we're looking at over here, this is really important to look at, because you can see here that currently the median list price in Frisco of all property is right around $750,000. But the new properties for this week are actually up $760,000. So again, pricing is holding steady. We aren't seeing a lot of things change or go down. Now, as I scroll down, I have zoomed in on the last year, and this is showing us the median list price in Frisco. And this solid line is the 90-day trend line. And this is the perfect way to explain or to show you the pricing curve that takes place every year. So we started the year right here in January, and you can see pricing went up here all the way through our busy spring market. So we go up through our busy spring market, we peak, and then we start trending back down again in the fall. We'll end up the year probably right around where we started the year, or maybe just a little bit above, and then that cycle will start again. Why do I share this? What is this telling me? Well, if you have a home for sale right now, it could take 60 days or so to sell, which means you're not going to go under contract maybe in December or January, right? Somewhere right in there. What was the median, what were homes selling for in relation to list price? They're selling for roughly a 3.5% discount. So if this is where the homes are listed for, we take a 3.5% discount into that, and that can start to tell us where some of the closed sales prices are going to be in the end of January, February, March. We start to be able to track that out, and we can see right now that there is, again, nothing whatsoever in the data to suggest that these prices are going to fall. Again, if we look here on where things are at, and I look at overall inventory, we can see again, just like I showed before, we started climbing, it went down, and then we're starting to level off and do our trend down for the year overall. So again, based on all of this information right here, we can get an idea on what we're looking at going forward. Again, if you're in the market to buy or sell, I can tell you there's absolutely nothing in the data right now to indicate that we're going to see any major changes in our market as we head into the first quarter of next year. What I can tell you is that if mortgage rates fall as expected, especially when they drop below 6 again, you're going to see buyer activity increase. If buyer activity increases, that is going to put upward pressure on our home prices going through 2025. Do I see a repeat of anything that we saw in the past? No, I absolutely don't. I don't think we're going to see anything like that, but I do see us getting into more normal, healthy levels of appreciation. 3 to 5%, somewhere in that area, could be very achievable in our market locally. So again, I've gone into a lot of detail here, covered a lot of different information. I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any particular questions about our local market, your situation, what a good plan for you will be with regards to buying and or selling, they invite you to reach out. Schedule a call with me. I've got the QR code up on the screen right here where you can take you straight to my calendar. There's also a link in the description below, and I invite you to go ahead and schedule a free 30-minute consultation. I'm going to listen to what's going on in your world, and I'm going to give you the information that you need to make the best decision for you. I'm not going to try and convince you one way or the other. I'm just going to share the information and provide additional insights and or resources to help you make the best decision for you. So thanks so much for watching. If you found value in this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Give me a thumbs up, that would really be appreciated. And please make sure you stick around because I know you're going to enjoy one of these videos coming up next.